Hello, Off-Season Will here again. Welcome back to Scouching's 2019 NHL Draft Recap video series. Today we're going to be looking at the Montreal Canadiens. Now, last year the Montreal Canadiens had one of the best drafts in the entire league, and I think they followed that up with a really nice haul in 2019 as well. Leading the way might be pound for pound the best value pick in the entire draft, no pun intended. Kol Caulfield being available at 15 was something that I both simultaneously thought could happen because size, but at the same time was a player that I thought a team would really look past the size aspect and take in the top 10. Yet here we are, and he's a Montreal Canadien, and I think this is a fantastic pick. Everyone and their parents has been comparing Kol Caulfield to Alex DeBrincat. I honestly think there's a lot more to Kol Caulfield's game that makes him a lot more dynamic than an Alex DeBrincat. They're two very different styles of players. Caulfield has tremendous skill, he's a great skater, he's really shifty and elusive on his feet, and when he shoots the puck, it's almost automatically going to the back of the net. He just knows how to score goals, he knows how to beat goaltenders, and I'm really interested to see where his career goes from here. I think he could be a great Montreal Canadien as soon as the end of this season. At 46, the Montreal Canadiens to me went a little bit off the board and took Jaden Struble. Now I really like Jaden Struble, but he's extremely raw. His skating is fantastic. He played prep school hockey and involved himself in offense really nicely. He also had a tremendous performance at the scouting combine and might be one of the best overall athletes available in the drafts. And I think that's something the Montreal Canadiens really value. I do think he's an underrated player and he flew under the radar playing prep school hockey, and he did shoot up a lot of draft boards as the year went on, but I do think this is a good pick for the Montreal Canadiens here. At 64, they took Matthias Norlander, one of the first picks in the third round used on an overage player. I really respect this pick. I like Matthias Norlander a lot. He got better when he got put in a more difficult situation in the Allsvenskan. His puck skill is great, his offensive tools are really nice. This is a nice project pick for Montreal, and they can keep their eye on him over the next year or two and sign him if his game takes another step, because I really think the tools are really interesting with him. At 77, Montreal swung on another fun offensive defender in Gianni Fairbrother. This is a player I had ranked a little bit later, but the offensive tools are really nice. He was just a defensive black hole on paper this year, so that's something that will need to be refined, but the offensive tools are really nice, and Montreal's swinging on upside here again, which is something that they've done for the last little while and I think is very valuable. At 126, they shifted gears completely in the opposite direction and went with Jacob Laguerriere. I'm not a fan of this pick. There's not much on paper that really jumps out to me, but I'm not going to really write anyone off, especially the Montreal Canadiens. They've done a lot of good work with their draft picks recently. I just didn't really see a whole lot of Laguerriere that made me really feel like this would have been a good pick here. But then at 131, the Montreal Canadiens took one of my favorite players in the whole draft in Rhett Pitts. He's an undersized winger, but he's got tremendous speed and a tremendous motor. All he does is look for dangerous areas or look for dangerous plays in the offensive zone, and I think that's going to take him a long way. He played very well in Omaha on a team that desperately needed some offense. I think he's going to be a really interesting player to track over the next little while, and I found him really underrated as this year went on. After Pitlick, they drafted Frederick Dickau, who's a goaltender from Denmark, and I honestly don't really know what to say. He seems to have played most of his games in the Danish second division, and he has some good numbers outside in international tournaments, but I don't know, big Danish goalie, who knows what's going to happen with him. But he did get drafted in the CHL import draft, so we'll see how his game translates to North America. At 170th, Montreal took third-time overage forward Arsen Kusum. Okay. At 170th overall, Montreal took third-time draft-eligible Arsen Kusum. Kusum is a player that I did see a little bit last year when I was checking out Bulat Shafagulin. I never came away super impressed, but he's a big forward who produced really well in the MHL. I would expect him to take a big step next year, considering he's going to be 21, 22 years old. He's well developed, he's big, and we'll see where he goes from here, but this is a wait-and-see pick for Montreal, and I don't really know if he's a player I would have picked in this slot, but at 201st, the Montreal Canadiens took Raphael Harvey, a player who made my undrafted players to watch list last year. I'm really interested to see if Harvey can really put together a great overage QMJHL season and break into the AHL at the end of the year. He's really shifty, really skilled, works every shift that I watched him play. I think this is a really high floor pick for the Montreal Canadiens. I think he fits in perfectly here. He earned himself a draft pick after going undrafted for far too long, and I'm glad he got picked. I'm interested to see where he ends up. And then the Montreal Canadiens used their 206th pick to draft a gigantic defenseman who couldn't really crack an AJHL lineup during the whole season. I don't know. Take who you like, I guess, in the 7th round, but this is not a player or a profile that I would have looked at. Someone like Dustin Wolf or Massimo Rizzo might have interested me more here, but I mean, shoot your shot, I guess. So if you've watched scouting reports before, reporting the same rating system over into these videos, the number's going to indicate the general level of potential that I see with the group of prospects the team drafted, and the letter indicates the likelihood of reaching that potential for the class as a whole. With the Montreal Canadiens, I'm giving them a really strong 1D. They took a lot of huge swings in this year's draft. There's a lot of upside with a lot of these picks, and I really respect teams that go out and do that. Kol Caulfield could be one of the best goal scorers to come out of this draft. Jaden Struble, after a few years of development, could be a really nice offensive piece on the back end. Same goes for Matthias Norlander and Gianni Fairbrother if they start to refine their defensive game a little bit. Rhett Pitts was one of my most favorite players in the whole draft, and from there, who knows? Raphael Harvey could be a contributor one day. I think they ended up with quite a few players that could play in the NHL. They're just big swings, and I think that it's really respectable how they did in this year's draft. So that's all for the Montreal Canadiens. Our next subjects will be the Minnesota Wild. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you could click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could support us on Patreon, where you get access to private chat rooms, input on players that we track, as well as spreadsheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, as well as other goodies. Or you could pick up some merchandise at the Scouchwear shop. All the links are in the description below. So that's all for this one, and I hope you join us in the video where we break down the Minnesota Wild.